This is a relay project.
Real Talk starts right now. Here's Ryan Jesperson.
Shout out to every single one of you that is taking a moment of your valuable time to join us here in this episode of Real Talk, an important conversation, as a matter of fact, of a couple of them to come here on this episode of the show. But as we check in into our live chat right off the top, you know, if you jump in on our Real Talk live stream presented by California Closets, you know our Real Talk pre-roll goes about 5 minutes before the show starts as Real Talkers start to gather in that live chat and bounce good mornings off each other, sometimes a few good-natured chirps, which we totally encourage as long as they're respectful. Those of you that catch the show later, you'll never see the pre-roll, so this is a benefit for those of you that join us weekday mornings at 8:30 Mountain, 10:30 Eastern, and I see a bunch of people saying good morning to each other, and then I see Jillian letting us know that it's a PD day, Johnny, and I wonder how many teachers we may have joining us. She says, I'm going to listen in for a little bit while she marks algebra. So shout out to Jillian and everybody else that's marking dozens of algebra exams or whatever else it is. We'll talk numbers today. We'll talk about the math. You may have seen the Government of Canada is holding its key lending rate. Shauna Feth is in with her eye on Alberta Business from the Alberta Chambers of Commerce. We'll get into that in matters of business across the province. But we'll lead off today with disability advocates calling out Alberta's government, saying that the math doesn't add up on a new program that will replace the assured income for the severely handicapped. That's AISH. If you're even a tepid political watcher, you've heard of AISH before, and certainly if you're a family member, if you're one of the 80,000 or so Albertans that are an AISH recipient or a family member of one of those 80,000, you know that a new program that the government will roll out, it's ADAP. It's the Alberta Disability Benefits Program. The government says that it's going to allow more Albertans with disabilities to pursue employment income. The government line on this is that it will allow Albertans with disabilities to keep more money in their pockets. But the advocates say that is not the case. That's not the reality. That's not what's happening. And we're going to hear from a couple of them in this episode of the show. This episode's happening with the presenting sponsorship from our friends at RapidX Financial. You can always find them online at rapidxfinancial.com. You know, you can also find their actual physical crypto ATMs. You know that company, Rapid Cash ATMs? You've seen them operating across the country for more than a quarter century. Well, this is that same team. And of course, getting into the crypto world, you know that it moves fast, but your trust in an exchange shouldn't be a gamble. That's why we're proud to partner with the team at RapidX Financial. They're a made-in-Alberta solution backed by those same experts behind the Rapid Cash ATMs. RapidX makes it easy to get started with 3 ways to trade. The website we're showing you right now, that secure online platform. They also have their physical crypto ATMs and then an over-the-counter desk for discrete, larger value trades. We get it. You want to talk to a human, or maybe you just have some questions and you want to bounce those off somebody credible who knows what they're talking about. That's why we recommend RapidX Financial. And because you're hearing about this on Real Talk, there's a special offer. You can go to rapidxfinancial.com and use the code Ryan50. That's Ryan50. That'll knock 50% off all fees for your online Interac e-transfer trades. It's secure. RapidX Financial is FinTrack registered, and critically, it's non-custodial. That means you control your keys. If you know crypto, you know what I'm talking about, and you know why that's important. Again, that's promo code Ryan50, all one word, at rapidxfinancial.com. Let's get right to this as we welcome to the Real Talk studio in the historic Mercer Warehouse in downtown Edmonton, the CEO of Inclusion Alberta, Trish Bowman. Trish, thanks so much for making yourself available. Good to have you here.
Great. Thanks for having me.
You bet. We're also going to welcome in a passionate Real Talker. Averie has been reaching out to the show to talk at ryanjesperson.com, and she has taken the remarkable step of joining us whilst out of country, and I believe on vacation. Averie, we sure appreciate that. For you, I guess the work on this file never stops, though, does it?
No, it doesn't. I'm a family side. I support a family member who has a serious mental illness who's on AISH. And now I and another group of parents, or family members, I should say, also support people who are on AISH who have serious mental illness. And we support our loved ones every day. And we are seriously concerned about them getting docked $200 a month on their AISH payments when there's no realistic chance of them working.
Okay, well, let's, Averie, we talk all the time about how emails to our show to talk@ryanjesperson.com can deepen our understanding of issues, can influence the editorial direction of the show, and this is case in point. So we're grateful to have you here. I want to invite you to jump in on the conversation here as though you were sitting around the table with us, and I know that Trish will do the same when you contribute something that she'd like to comment on. But Trish, your group, Inclusion Alberta, and we'll show the website here through the course of this interview that people can check out. I mean, your team has been speaking out on this at length. Back on December 9th, this is when Alberta's MLAs passed Bill 12. And this was a bill that dramatically changed AISH and I guess manifested ADAP, or the Alberta Disability Assistance Program. Can you lay it out for us, for the average civilian, on what this means for Albertans with disabilities?
Well, this is a significant change. We have about 80,000 people currently on the AISH program, and as AISH existed, it meant that you had an impairment that provided a significant impairment to your ability to earn a livelihood. It didn't say you were unable to work. It said you had a significant limitation in your ability to work. And the ADAP, as proposed, will move everyone currently on the AISH program to the new program, Alberta Disability Assistance Program. And if you want to reapply for AISH, you have to be reassessed. So AISH will continue to exist, but it will be significantly different. It has a different definition. So the definition of AISH now becomes you are permanently unable to work. That was never the definition before. And the earning exemption on the new AISH is $350. And after that, dollar for dollar, they're taking away any income you earn. So
so if I earn $1,000 and I'm on AISH, they're going to cut $650 from my AISH payment every month. Is that right?
Correct. That's effective July 1. Currently, if you're on AISH, you can earn $1,072 a month, and it's 100% exempt.
Okay, and the AISH payment is approximately $1,700, or does it differ per person?
No, the AISH payment is $1,901 currently.
Okay, so you can earn, in theory, as it stands, or your income could be up to $2,900 a month.
Absolutely, and then after that, it's not dollar for dollar. After the $1,072, it's a sliding scale. It's 50% after that, and then a sliding scale. But the new program, ADAP, lowers your core benefit to $1,701. Well, it'll be $1,740 in July, but $17. So it lowers it by $200, and the fully exempt earning exemption, income exemption, is $350. And after that, it's a sliding scale. We don't actually know what that is because they haven't actually put that out. But based on what we've been able to calculate on their own model that they put out, it'll be a sliding scale after that first $350. We don't know exactly what.
Okay, and just so I'm up to speed on this, when you talk about AISH dropping by those $200, is this what we're hearing about the clawback with the Canada Disability Benefit? Is that this, or is that a separate thing?
That's separate.
Oh, Avery's not shaking her head.
No.
Go ahead, Avery.
Go ahead, Avery.
Yeah. Well, like the clawback on, the clawback on the DTC, on the disability tax credit, is just another thing that they have imposed on people with serious disabilities. They basically they've already taken $200 a month from people who would otherwise have qualified under the federal program, and now they're going to take another $200 a month off their AISH. One of the things that really is one of the irritations that Trish pointed out, I wanted to stress this: people can already work on the AISH program. My family member works and has worked for a long time in a supported employment situation. There are probably about 5,000 of the 80,000 AISH recipients who already have employment. All the government had to do, if they wanted to encourage employment, was simply change the clawbacks and loose them up some more. And that was done by regulation. You can just wander down I used to work for government, so I know how it's done. You call up your ledge council and you say, please draft a regulation, and you send it to cabinet, and they could have encouraged employment just by doing that. They didn't have to do any of the rest of this. Instead, they're telling people jobs are good for you. They're better for you than any of the other treatment programs your doctors or therapists or families have suggested for you. Just get a job and you'll be better.
Yeah, I 100% agree. There were improvements that could have been made to AISH. Absolutely. That could have been done very easily. They could have made the medical benefit available, even if you had earned so much that you were no longer receiving the AISH benefit. They could have done that. They could have increased the earning exemptions. They could have increased the employment supports available to people with disabilities. All of those things could have been done without introducing an entirely new program that will move everybody currently on AISH over to it, and then put them through the, honestly, trauma of having to potentially figure out, do I reapply for AISH and then am forever limited and identified as permanently unemployable, right? And my income is capped, or do I hope that I can get a job to earn enough to be better off? So they didn't need to do this.
If you're just joining us, that's Trish Bowman, Trish with Inclusion Alberta. You can check out inclusionalberta.org. Real Talker Averie joining us, an advocate for Albertans with disabilities and families supporting Albertans that are living with mental health, in our feature interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. Averie, I can tell you wanted to jump in there.
Well, I wanted to go back to your comment about teachers marking math and Trish's point about people finding jobs. I did some quick math based on what's available on the government Open Alberta site that has all the data on the AISH program, which I wish some of the government ministers had read before they did this. Even the best generous assumptions, the most generous assumptions, said that there are going to have to be 42,000 new jobs for people with serious permanent disabilities in order for this to have any benefit, in order for this to even out what's the financial loss from this program. That's 42,000 supported jobs. And that's not just like saying we're creating permanent jobs. These are they're basically gig jobs. You have to scrape them together. You have to find an employer who's able to support the disability that you have. For somebody with serious mental illness, that could be a person who has difficulty connecting with reality, who is managing symptoms of anosognosia, of depression, of psychotic episodes. You're going to have to, and that's just the 1/3 that are of people on AISH who have serious mental illness. There are another 70% who have cognitive or physical disabilities. It's insane to think that the government is going to solve all these people's problems and magically create 42,000 permanent, and I mean lifetime. We're talking the AISH goes from age 18 to age 65. About 40% of the AISH clients are over 50, or between 50 and 65, because AISH ends at 65. It's ridiculous. There's no possible reasonable chance that they're going to be able to find these jobs that Trish is mentioning.
Yeah, and to build on your point about the math, according to an economist from the U of C who did some calculations based on the discussion guide that the government put out in this late summer, in order to be better off on ADAP than you are in the current AISH program, if they didn't change AISH, you'd have to work about 33 hours a week at minimum wage to be better off than if they just left AISH alone. So as to your point, creating 40,000 almost full-time jobs for people with disabilities in the next year and a half, 2 years from now, that isn't going to happen.
What do you think is motivating this? Like, why do you think? Like, let me say that I'm not saying this is the case. I don't know if it is or isn't, but we'll often receive notes to the show or comments on when we talk about this, or at least subjects related to this, and people will imply that AISH is being abused, that there are people that are collecting AISH that are not deserving recipients, essentially, that there are people that are working full-time, that are capable to work full-time, that are scamming the system. Basically, I want to ask both of you this question, but Trish, you're nodding your head. I mean, I'm sure, are there some instances of that? Do we know that's been happening? Well,
I think that it's safe to assume that any single program that's out there is going to have a certain level of abuse. I think that and it does not matter what program we are talking about. We know MLAs who have taken advantage of their living allowance and rented out their spaces. So there is a certain level of abuse in any program. But what I would say is two things. One, the research shows that when they actually do that investigation, the rate is actually very low of what they can find in terms of people who are taking advantage of the system. The other thing I would say is $1,900 a month isn't very much money. So I don't know how many people are working really hard to still live in poverty. So I think that I would love to see the data. That would be what I would like to know, is where is the data that says how many people are abusing the system, and is this change, does it warrant this change? And I think the answers will be no.
Averie, I have a couple of suspicions. I think one of them may be that this legislation, this Bill 12, was motivated by a crackdown on scamming or AISH abuse. Part of it may be to try to, I don't know, kickstart employment numbers in entry-level jobs. I mean, work with me here. I'm doing my best to brainstorm around this. But I also would recognize that there's a bunch of people that I bet you're about to point out for whom full-time work or even part-time work it's not even an option, in which case this is just a big pay cut.
I have to think that. I think there's also a policy behind it, a weird kind of old-fashioned bootstrapping, suck it up, princess, you'll be better if you get a job. It's so contrary to a recovery. I mean, if you look at recovery, and I think Trish can back me up on people with cognitive or physical disabilities, which is not an area I'm familiar with, but for serious mental illness, the key indicators outside the medical system, which is a bit of a, I can't say the bad word, but it's a bit of a shit show right now. Yeah. Okay, I just did. But outside of the medical realm, the key indicators of recovery for somebody with serious disabilities, serious, permanent, incurable disabilities, are not get a job. They're social connection. They're good self-esteem, their strong family and social supports, their acceptance in the community. And getting a job might give you that, but getting a job is only one of 1,000 different ways you can achieve that. And this idea that getting a job is better than any other kind of recovery is ridiculous. It also overlooks the fact for serious mental illness, and at least the recovery doesn't mean you go back to your normal, the way you were before illness overtook you. Recovery means managing these symptoms. And for everybody with a serious disability, you got to manage their symptoms. Anyway, I think the bottom line is somebody somewhere in government, sitting politicians, believes that getting a job is going to make these people better somehow and healthier. And it's just old-fashioned nonsense.
Goramat in our live chat says Alberta has the lowest supports in the country on this file. Is that accurate?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not lowest support. I'm not.
In other words, like the AISH program would be the lowest funding as compared to any other disability support program in the country. Is that accurate as far as you know, or no?
No, it's not.
Okay, we want to deal with the facts, so I want to ask you that.
No. Alberta is absolutely, in terms of the AISH program, is one of the highest. There, Northwest Territories, there's in the territories, and I think Newfoundland now actually have a higher level of benefits, but we actually have one of the high currently. That will change, of course, when they introduce ADAP.
Okay, so Alberta will drop in the rankings, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay, Averie?
Yeah. It's unfortunate because Alberta in 1979, when H was first passed, and I was in the 80s, I was the lawyer for government for the AISH program. It was the first in Canada, and it was for a long time the highest in Canada, and it was designed to actually help the deinstitutionalization of people with serious permanent disabilities. When Alberta Hospital, the Alberta hospitals stopped permanently housing people with serious mental illness, and that was the center in down in South Alberta for disabled people. Anyway, it was a response to allowing people to live independently. We were first in Canada for a long, long time, and now we're going to go down the tubes.
I'll take a look here at our live chat powered by Park Power as we talk to Inclusion Alberta CEO Trish Bowman, Real Talker Averie joining us as well remotely. Meta Modern says hacking away at social supports has the effect of putting extra pressure on public services. which of course are being underfunded in Alberta right now as well. Says, do you see what I'm saying? That resonated with you.
It does. There's a report put out by Vibrant Communities Calgary not too long ago, and the estimated cost of homelessness is over $50,000 per person per year. The cost driving people into deeper poverty, and this will drive people into deeper poverty, and potentially homelessness, more reliance on food banks, more medical needs, all of those things. There is a cost to this, and that shouldn't be ignored.
I want to get to more of what Averie, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I just two things. One is there'll be a cost as well to people who have to go to their doctors and to the AISH panel and say, I'm utterly unemployable. Please let me have my $200. There's an emotional and mental cost to those people. And I think Trish can probably speak to it. It's the cost, the government says it's going to pay for it, of actually finding supported employment and providing supported employment. As I said, my family member is in supported employment. He actually has to have an employer who can find a replacement for him if he has a time when he can't work due to stress. Trish, those are expensive to run too, right?
Well, certainly there's a cost to them, and we also know there's a benefit to them. But again, if we're suddenly seeing, 40 or 50,000 people, needing that support, and a lot of those people, it's not a one-time support. It can be, in fact, ongoing, right? And so
it's forever.
I 100% agree that people can and want to work. Whether they, can always work, whether they can work full-time, whether they can sustain employment, whether it's episodic, employment has real benefits, and we think, we should be helping people get into workforce, not just for the financial benefit, but as you'd said, Averie, for all of the social and emotional benefits that come from working, from having a reason to get up in the morning, to contributing to your community, to feeling valued and belonging. Employment is a worthy goal, but reducing people's income and expecting them to be, they could have achieved this goal by improving AISH. They did not need to introduce this program that will lower people's benefits and make their life far more precarious.
Okay, Real Talkers are all fired up on this, so I want to loop them back into the conversation in our live chat, powered by Park Power. Real Talker Averie, obviously passionate about this with a deep knowledge of this, joining us remotely on vacation. We appreciate that, Averie. Don't go anywhere. Trish Bowman's joining us as well. Trish is the CEO of Inclusion Alberta. If you're listening to this after the fact, not live, if you're catching the podcast, if you're watching this on YouTube, maybe you're catching this a couple of months after we're having the conversation, but we're talking about exactly what is most impacting your family. You can send us an email anytime to talk@ryanjesperson.com.
Ground control to Major Tom.
We took our first steps, brave steps, bold steps in 2001, accomplishing the extraordinary. Today, we lead in pediatric organ transplants and many other specializations. Now imagine the possibilities in a space of our own. Help us launch the new Stollery Children's Hospital with no bounds to what we'll accomplish next.
We're thrilled to help celebrate Stollery No Bounds Week here on the show, and you're going to be hearing more about that in the days to come. We also want to make sure that Athabasca University is on the radar of anybody right now that is considering pursuing that post-secondary journey. It's been in the back of your mind for a while. Perhaps something has changed in your personal life. Maybe the nest has become empty and you're looking to reintegrate yourself into the workforce. Maybe you're just looking to better out your understanding of the world around you. No matter what your driving force is, there's a fit for you at Canada's Open University. That's Athabasca University, online at athabascau.ca, with world-class accredited online degrees and courses that are designed so you can work around your schedule, what works for you. There's a lot of you that are working one, maybe two jobs, caring for your parents or your kids or both. Maybe you live miles and miles away from a brick and mortar university. Athabasca University has many, many advantages, and that's why more than 500,000 Canadians count themselves among the AU alum. You can learn more about the AU Advantage by visiting athabascau.ca. California Closets reminding you that they can work with any vision, and their team can work at different budget levels as well to make your design dreams come true. Whether it's a walk-in closet with a chandelier, maybe it's just a laundry room that better works for your family, or it could be a dream garage. Those custom solutions come as a result of a consultation with California Closets designers at zero risk to you. That's free. You can book it today at californiaclosets.ca. This is a proud Canadian-owned company manufacturing all their installations in our home province of Alberta, and it's all guaranteed for life. Check out the different budget and design levels today. Book your free consultation at californiaclosets.ca. Our friends at Friesen Brothers reminding you that they now have doors wide open at the Mother Dough Bread Co. This was a labor of love for this family-owned business that celebrated 70 years in 2025. Now into 2026, the Mother Dough Bread Co. is leading the way for anybody that's looking for quick, quality bites. You can find them in Edmonton's West End. You can check it out online at motherdoughbreadco.com. And don't forget, it's not just those ready-to-go, baked fresh daily sandwiches on that beautiful, incomparable Friesen Brothers bread. You can also check out freshly baked sourdough, focaccia and baguettes, and of course, the Friesen Brothers sourdough cinnamon buns. You can learn more, including on their feature, that Southwest smoked pork baguette, by visiting motherdoughbreadco.com. And we are a day away from the next episode of Alberta Wins, presented by Play Alberta. Everybody that sends us a story of an Albertan winning on the international stage is going to qualify to win 2 tickets to visit the Play Alberta Suite to join us at Real Talk Night. That's March 21st when the Edmonton Oilers host the Tampa Bay Lightning. You know, Albertans are winning every single day on the Play Alberta app and at playalberta.ca. If what you're hearing is resonating, you can check out playalberta.ca or the Play Alberta app and get started on casino, sports, and lottery all in one app. Of course, you must be 18 or over to play. And if you do gamble, please decide to use your game sense. Hanging out with Trish Bowman from Inclusion Alberta. Real Talker Averie joining us remotely in our feature interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. In our live chat, powered by Park Power, Joseph says we're talking about creating risk and liability through the AISH program. Says what we're talking about poses a risk that AISH clients did not agree to. Jim says it sounds to me it's almost like the people that are cutting the funds think that AISH recipients are some sort of rip-off artists. Tracy says the UCP and the progressive conservatives before them have long wanted to limit welfare and AISH benefits, changing eligibility and reducing supplementary supports. And M. Aitken has her flamethrower out in the chat today. Earmuffs, kids. She says, I don't think I can watch the rude and stupid comments that are surfacing in the live chat today. Every asshole that speaks against AISH should have to live on AISH for 3 months. Trish, you're nodding. I mean, Averie is too, but talk to us about trying to live on $1,900 a month in 2026.
Well, I mean, I think that we know that's not going to cut it if you're in most places in Alberta. But the other thing that I don't think people really understand is the additional costs that people living with disabilities incur. So it's estimated to be anywhere from 20 to 30% more extra costs that you incur when you have a disability. So that also factors in transportation, clothing, medication, other medical treatments that aren't covered by AISH. There's all kinds of additional financial costs for people living on AISH. And so $1,900 would be hard for someone who doesn't have a disability, but for those who do, it's super challenging.
Averie, what would you have liked? I mean, it sounds like you know this file. I heard you say that you were a lawyer that worked on this back in earlier in your career. I mean, you obviously understand the ins and outs of it. What do you think would have been a better move by this government?
Well, if they honestly wanted to improve the opportunities for people to work or encourage people to work, instead of this stick of saying we're going to dock you $200, simply improve the clawbacks, which they could have done easily by regulation. And if they wanted to also help people, add supported employment, get employers to create more jobs by incentivizing them. perhaps grants for providing supported employment. There's lots of ways they could have done that. Use whatever resources they're going to use to try to give people job training, seriously handicapped people job training. Use that to create more inclusive job workplaces for individuals. There's so many ways they could have done this without whapping people across the head with this stick of cutting off $200 of their income and assuming that they're employable, that they can work for money. It's a horrible stigmatizing thing to do.
Trish, I'll credit your team at inclusionalberta.org. There's a fact sheet here. There's kind of a game plan for people that want to take action. It was a testimonial, though, that your team interviews and tells the story of one individual who receives AGE, talking about this 10% cut from $1,940 a month to $1,740 a month. I say this respectfully. A lot of people wouldn't miss $200 a month in their checking account, right? A lot of people wouldn't even notice. A lot of people don't think twice about spending $200 on lunch or what have you. But this individual says that $200 is the difference between getting uncovered prescriptions paid for or having groceries for the month. The difference between almost living and barely existing. What a reality check.
Yeah. No, it's heartbreaking. And I don't think most people or the majority of people really understand the difference $200 can make. For some people, they're living on the edge as it is, and this will push them over.
Is it more difficult in your estimation? I don't know how you're going to answer this question or if you can, but is it more difficult to advocate on behalf of a program or on behalf of individuals receiving supports from a program that maybe most members of the general public might not know a lot about, might not totally understand? Like, can you talk to us? I'll ask both of you this question about the challenges around your advocacy, and you may not call it lobbying, but, you know, trying to influence government decisions and prompt informed government decisions.
Absolutely it is. So, you know, we represent children and adults that have intellectual disabilities. It's actually a very small percentage of the population. So it is not something the majority of people really understand, nor do they understand what's possible for those folks, you know, with the right support. So we do very much need allies. We need people who don't have a family member with an intellectual disability to care about this, because, you know, you never know what the future holds. You could have a grandchild, a child, a sibling born with a disability. I mean, all of those things are possible. So it doesn't impact you until it does. But when it does, you want those supports to be there. That's the community we live in. That's the province we've always lived in. And I think that that's the province we want to live in.
Averie, can you talk to us about challenges around your advocacy?
Well, first, I agree 100% with Trish. That the province we aspire to is a one where a community which understands and accepts people with disabilities. It's a challenge, especially in the mental health area. We're all familiar with the fact that the stigma is awful. Mental health disabilities are invisible, as are some cognitive disabilities that Trish works with. And that makes it really hard for people to understand them or to identify them. And there are so many stereotypes and so many old wives' tales about them that it's really hard to get people to, even the most intelligent and sympathetic people, to really understand what's happening when somebody can't understand reality, or when somebody is having a psychotic episode and believes that somebody is chasing them, or that voices are talking to them. It's just so hard to get people to understand, to stop and listen, and understand what is really going on. And instead, people whisper what you think about. 1 in 20 have a mental illness, and out of that, another one have serious mental illness that's disabling. And they're everywhere, as Trish said. They're in our society, but hidden. And we don't like talking about them. We're also scared by mental illness. So, yeah, it's difficult. But one thing I do say, though, is when we've talked to people in our community about it, my husband and I, it's amazing the number of people and heartening the number of people. I hope this happens for you too, Trish, is they say, oh yeah, me too. And they're glad to have somebody talk about it. So talk is good.
Including this show, I can tell.
Yep.
People are checking. People are checking in on our live chat right now. Shauna says, "I've been really looking forward to hearing this topic on Real Talk." Says, "I just retired from ACE." She says it wasn't perfect, but what they're doing now is breaking any hope of having any security or quality of life in the disability community. Others are.
And this is.
Yeah, go ahead, Averie.
This will be. Well, to Shauna's point, this will be forever for every person who comes to ask for support will be presumed to be able to work for money. Every single one, until they prove otherwise.
MA says, I live in a community that employs many ACE recipients, many ACE clients. They're great workers, but they can't always put in a full day due to some of their challenges. Aaron says, the second place I lived in, when I moved into the city, I rented a room from a gal who was on ACE, kidney disease, on dialysis, and to supplement her income. She was doing what she could to manage or clean the building so she could afford her rent. Tracy says ACE was intended to assist individuals that couldn't work due to a permanent disability or illness. Government learned that many were added that could work and decided that it needed to change its policy. Christy says, I worked with a lovely lady living with bipolar disorder who picked up more shifts during COVID. It ended up with her being committed for 6 months. I'm positive that the end result there costs taxpayers more. Michael says, I don't mind paying taxes for the vulnerable, but I do mind the province stealing taxpayer money that is meant for the vulnerable. Explorer Hollis is wondering, watching us at work, by the way, wonders if you could take us through the reapplication process. Hollis is wondering, how much load does that put on the healthcare system, for example, getting all these people reassessed? I know we've touched on it. And then, Averie, I think you've made a very good point as well about the impact, the psychological impact, the impact on someone's confidence around this whole process. But this is something, obviously, you're going to be familiar with, Trish, too.
Well, we don't actually know yet because a lot of this will come out in the regulations. But, what we understand is everyone will be moved to ADAP, and then if they want to reapply for ACE, will need to be reassessed. So obviously that's a process of going to either your own doctor, or they're saying they will have a panel of medical experts who might reassess you. But I think, to Averie's point, I think being put in a position of having to just lay bare everything in your life that impacts you and try and make the case so that you can have $200 more of security is psychologically what that does to people is so sad. And so we don't actually know what that process will be like. But one of the other things we know is, should you do that and be denied, it's not appealable. So there's no real right to appeal for individuals. So I think that there's lots to still be determined in regulation, but as it stands right now, it looks pretty awful for people.
Averie, I'll let our podcast listeners know you've been nodding the whole time.
Well, two things on that. One of the things is if I figure, looking at the math, there'll be at least 27,000 applications by people who want to go from ADAP to ACE. The government said it's going to exempt some people who are clearly unable to work. I mean, people who are living in palliative care, people who are in permanent care facilities and that kind of thing. So assuming that that's about a third, there's going to be about 2/3 who end up on ADAP. So, and of those, about 27,000 will probably want to go to ACE. So they're going to be between July 1st, 26th, and the end of December next year. They're going to have to try to process 27,000 applications, assuming that 27,000 people just give up and stay on ADAP, or they're already working. So there's that problem. And the other thing is sorry, I've lost my train of thought, but
Averie,
at
let
the other end-
me jump
Yeah,
in.
yeah, interrupt there.
Get your
Yeah,
train
yeah.
get your train back, and
Thank
it
you.
always happens to me. It happens to me every single day.
Yeah,
and I need 30 seconds, and then I'm good on it. But I mean the live
yeah.
chat's going off on this, and
Yeah,
you know
go.
I see here that Dwayne is wondering like who is it exactly that's going to work so very hard to try to scam a system and qualify for a wage that can barely get you by. In Alberta in 2026. Like Meta says, you sure have to put in a lot of work to scam AISH, which is probably why the abuse rates are so low here. PNC Bio, great to see you in the chat, says, I think it's clearly something that government thought it could get away with and present as a good cut. Says, being a disabled person myself, I truly have to wonder how much fraud there can possibly be compared to good business. Cassandra says almost all disabilities have an episodal aspect to them. So sometimes you can work a little, sometimes a lot, and oftentimes you can't work at all. Alberta Girl says our youth unemployment in Alberta is so staggeringly low now. There's are there more people applying for these jobs? Like how many employers have jobs that would even be a good fit for this? Jill says, wait until you see what's coming down the pipe here, everybody. Says we don't have the resources in schools to give many of those kids what they need to function in society. There's going to be a huge need for supportive work. Others are saying if the UCP was so concerned about fraud, wouldn't they be cracking down on this more broadly instead of specifically people with disabilities? Like, help this make sense. Sup Snorty says, can we talk about the fact that regardless of policy, the government's forcing folks on AISH to live in fear for months with no clear understanding of what changes are actually happening and when? That from Sup Snorty in our live chat. Mm-hmm. Averie, do you have the train back?
I do have the train back. It's what happens after you stay on an ADAP and you're told, go get a job. And are you going to be penalized if you don't try hard enough to find a job? And if you can't find a job, the ADAP website, if you go on it right now, and they talk about the employment expectations, it says, well, if you can't find a job, basically, tough luck. If you get more sick, you can apply for AISH.
Right.
So, there's no hope.
Okay, well, we want to call to action here.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we? Because
Yeah.
if I know anything about this audience that's driven by empathy, the audience here, Real Talkers, are going to be wondering, well, what can we do about this? And there may be some obvious ones. Call your MLA, email your MLA.
Yeah.
But I want to give each of you to sort of give a charge to this audience, so to speak. Averie, give them something to focus on, somewhere to channel what they're feeling right now.
My focus has been this. Contact the people who might make a difference. Minister of Mental Health, who is on the maybe on the right side of this, your MLA, point out the numbers. Also, I've gone to the members of the Premier's Council on Disability, status person with disability. I wrote every single one of them, right to them, because they are at the Premier's desk, or in the Premier's office. I'd like to get a response from them, by the way. The Disability Advocate also works in government, also has the ear of the ADMs and whatnot in the ministries, and try to pressure, I think, the people who are advising the government on this. I hear Nixon is not going to change his mind, the minister in charge, but perhaps we can get others who can get the minister's ear.
Last word to you, Trish.
Well, I know you said call your MLA, and that's an obvious one. I would say keep calling your MLA. Call every MLA. Make it clear that you don't support this policy or this change. And I think one of the other things we're saying to people is talk to your friends and your neighbors and your colleagues. We need every Albertan, actually, to say this isn't who we are. It's not enough for my community or Averie's community to be speaking out alone. We actually need Albertans to speak with us and to make their feelings known to their elected representatives.
Man, this chat is just I mean, this is landing with people. Many people sharing personal stories, their family members, right? Or they themselves.
So I want to just add to that. everybody we've talked to, everybody disagrees with this. And when I say everybody, I mean business people, community members, lawyers, doctors, everybody we talk to when we explain this agrees that this is not right. So it's not just us, it's just that not enough people are paying attention. So when people know, they care.
My name goes here. Good handle in our live chat says, my mom's born with cerebral palsy, and no amount of work would make her better. In fact, the need to chase employment would do her serious harms. He says, we are blessed by good fortune, but my God, he says, so many, because of this, will be ruined. And then there's a lot of people like Cassandra that are volunteering themselves to be interviewed on this. That's powerful stuff. They want their personal stories told. Cassandra, send me an email to talk@ryanjesperson.com. There's nothing like personal stories to help people understand. This is always the formula. I won't go on a rant here. I won't go down a rabbit hole. But as a TV news reporter for a long time, you'd have 90 seconds to tell your story, and they would say you need the evidence and you need the emotion. Right? Those are the two factors to any effective story. We've got the evidence here. We've got the numbers. The emotion is the personal stories and how this is impacting people. So send us an email to talk@ryanjesperson.com. Lauren has been watching us live on YouTube. He says, Trish and Averie are the unsung angels that make a difference in so many disadvantaged lives. Averie, like it or not, you must accept the praise as we clear you to enjoy the rest of your day on vacation. Thank you so much for your continued advocacy. Thank you for making time for us today, Averie. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Ryan, on behalf of everybody that I work with. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it. And Trish Bowman has been joining me here in studio in the historic Mercer Warehouse. Trish is the CEO leading the team at Inclusion Alberta. They've done fantastic work on this file to this point. I know that they'll tell you the work is not done, and that's where you come in, Real Talkers. You can check out inclusionalberta.org for more. Trish, thanks for doing this.
Thanks so much, Ryan.
You got it. Now, it is Wednesday. Shauna Feth's going to be joining us in just a moment with her eye on Alberta Business. We'll talk about the Bank of Canada, key lending rates. Mark Carney's, the PMO, has announced that he will be heading to India. He's just back, of course, you know that, from a trip to China. But before we go there, every Wednesday, courtesy of our friends at Tourism Jasper, we have a chance to step outside of the news cycle and step out to Jasper National Park. It's MyJasper Memories, proudly presented by our friends at Tourism Jasper. And you know, I've been telling you this year after year after year, that January is one of the most special times of year to be out in Jasper. Jasper in January has been celebrated for many, many years, and I know circled on the calendar of so many people who have made so many wonderful memories with family, with friends out there in the park. So as we approach the third weekend, as Jasper in January prepares to wrap, it's not done quite yet, friends. We want to put a few things on your radar, including a few of the events that they have going on. These are, what do you want to call them, Johnny? Social opportunities. Our friends at Marmot Basin are going to have the most fun of anybody. I don't know, I'm smiling so big my face hurts right now, and I'm not even out there right now. But our friends at Marmot Basin are inviting you to break out. Maybe it might be Dad and Mom's neon ski suit. Maybe you still have yours. Any of those one-piece Descent owners out there, you know what I'm talking about. Well, get ready to travel back in time with Retro Day. That's January 31st out at Marmot Basin. They're looking for your loudest neon. They're looking for your favorite 80s ski fashion. That party, of course, is going down this Saturday at Marmot Basin with Retro Day. You can always check out skimarmot.com for more details on the snow conditions out there and what's going to be going on. You can start the day with a fun race at Marmot Basin Ski Resort. And of course, the most rad, the most totally tubular, forgive me, my son Wyatt, he's 10. He goes, Dad, did you actually say words like that back in the 80s? I said, yes, buddy, we did. The raddest ski costumes are going to take center stage. And then when the lifts stop running around 4 o'clock, when you've had your fill of fun on the mountain, fresh tracks everywhere, by the way, then you can hit downtown Jasper for the party like it's 1989 street party. You can check out jasper.travel/January for more on this. But the party like it's 1989 street party is going to feature live entertainment. They've got that totally tubular ski costume contest. You don't even have to change. After riding or skiing on the hill all day, they'll have a righteous s'mores lounge. And of course, they'll wrap it all up with fireworks, because why wouldn't you? And then, if you still haven't had enough, you can keep the vibes alive into the night with iconic retro hits. They're going to be spinning those all night long at the Averie nightclub. I have literally never had a bad time at the Averie nightclub. It's iconic for a reason, and this will wrap up at the Averie an epic day filled with nostalgia and good times. That's Retro Day on January 31st out in Jasper, starting at Marmot Basin, continuing into that street party and wrapping up at the Averie. Check out jasper.travel/January for more details on Jasper in January. The festivities will officially wrap up on February 1st. And Johnny, I'm showing it here. You can take a look through the events. There's activity and adventure. We've mentioned a few, but of course also like food and drink, music and entertainment. They've got a ton of stuff going on. Shout out to those of you that were out in Jasper for the pond hockey tournament last weekend. Sounds like it was another one for the ages. Again, that's jasper.travel/January. You've still got time to get out there, and we'd love to see your Jasper memories. If you post on Instagram, if you post on X, hashtag MyJasper and Real Talk RJ, and you could be featured in an upcoming edition of MyJasper Memories, proudly presented Wednesdays here on Real Talk by our friends at Tourism Jasper. I do want to note that I also did see Steve Fetter in our live chat pointing out and celebrating that the Pats are back in the Super Bowl. And then it spurred a whole conversation on Super Bowl and the Patriots and the Seahawks and the whole nine yards. And Fetter, I did want to note, I did see that. Congratulations on your team making it back to the Super Bowl. And this is a great time for me to soft launch, to soft announce that I will be returning as host of the Super Bowl party at On the Rocks. That's going to be on Sunday, the 8th of February. We'll share further details and shows to come. But if you don't yet have Super Bowl plans, we'd love to have you join us there at On the Rocks. That'll be Sunday, February 8th for the Super Bowl. As we say hello to our good friend Shauna Feth, President and CEO of the Alberta Chambers of Commerce. I'm putting you on the spot here. Are you an NFL fan? Do you have an NFL team?
I'm not.
No.
No, CFL.
Yeah, who's your CFL team?
Oh, Edmonton, of course.
Okay, well, I wasn't sure. I feel like there's the Rough Rider fans. I'm talking about Saskatchewan. There's the Rough Rider fans that are kind of across. It's like Montreal Canadiens fans, across Canada.
Yeah.
The Riders fans, they'll just pop up, in all these different places.
Yeah. No, I'm a Northern Alberta girl, so.
Yeah, I'm like you. I can appreciate the fun of watching an NFL game, but I don't even have a team. I guess I'll pick one. I'm going to go Seahawks. I think that they're the easy choice on this one. We got a lot to get to. I'm taking a look at the headlines. You have your eye on Alberta Business. That's your deal. That's your gig as president and CEO of the Alberta Chambers of Commerce, and we got a lot of ground to get to, so I'd like to hit it running. We can talk about Mark Carney, his trip to China. They've just announced he will be going to India in coming months, but the news leading the headlines today, and I won't say that it's not news, because it is, but the Bank of Canada is maintaining that key interest rate at 2.25%. I don't think that anybody thought that there would be dramatic movement. They're saying that it kind of holds the line for now, but of course your job is to evaluate news headlines and understand the impact that it'll have on hundreds of Alberta businesses. So what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think no surprise that they're holding the rate, and I think it's a good indicator of some stability for businesses, that reliability and affordability piece, and knowing what the next chunk of time is going to look like in terms of their investments and their financing. So like I said, we've been following economists, and it's been, really projected that this is going to be pretty standard, that they're going to hold while they see what's happening with inflation in the country.
The Prime Minister's office announcing this morning, basically an hour before we spoke, that Mark Carney will be heading over to India in a number of months. They haven't said exactly when. A big part of that will be based on trade, and they say, mending fences, right? Yeah. Or repairing relationships. I don't know that that's the official word from the PMO, but that was a big part of the China trip too. And of course, the elephant in the room, the looming CUSMA negotiations, challenges in dealing with the United States. Let me ask you generally, and then we can dig in, your thoughts on the deal that Canada struck in China and the impact that it'll have on Alberta's business landscape.
So cautiously optimistic. I mean, there's a lot of details that still need to be worked out. But, obviously, the EV tariffs were the thing that really spurned huge tariffs on a lot of our agri products. And so that's very positive for our ag industries, both in Alberta and Saskatchewan, that were hit really hard. But again, it's going to be, Ontario has some concerns, and I think it's just going to be really about, how do we look at all of the details and how is that going to play out in real life in terms of our businesses and what that's going to mean from a tariff perspective with China.
Yeah, it's you and I have spoken, and I want to give you credit. I mean, you've been sort of like, keeping us informed along the way about these interprovincial trade barriers, and it's obvious that, different provinces, I mean, this is a massive country, geographically speaking, they're going to have different industries and different economic interests and require different economic stimulants and the like. And but you can't help but notice, Scott Moe comes back. I mean, for all intents and purposes, appears to be very pleased with the deal. It's good news for producers, in particular canola and peas, but it's more than that. And then Doug Ford's just, I don't know if I say furious, but he's not happy with it at all, calling for a boycott on Chinese EVs. And we understand why. Ontario's auto sector is very significant. I know that's probably not lost on you.
No, I mean, different industries have different stressors, and tariffs are really impacting all industries in some shape or form. But, even when we look at aluminum, we look at forest products, like those are ones that are being heavily hit in Alberta. And of course, Ontario is, they're car manufacturers. So of course, they're not going to love the deal. But like I said, in Alberta and Saskatchewan, where we have major canola producers, seeing that tariff lifted is going to have a real impact on their bottom lines right away.
Now, these aren't 20-year deals. These aren't 20-year agreements. So what do relatively limited timeframes do to business? Can it be good or bad? Like, good if you don't like it, hang tight. Bad, it's up for renewal soon. You
can look at it from both sides, but the reality is business needs certainty. Business wants certainty. So if we can put something in place that in the short term can hammer out any of the details or any of the challenges that may be imminent in that agreement, and then look at longer term resolution, that's always the best way forward. Because, like I said, business needs certainty in order to make big decisions around investment, diversification, productivity, those types of things.
Okay. The president, Donald Trump's response to the China deal has been curious. It's been baffling, as a matter of fact, and we've covered it on the show in various ways. The president appearing to encourage Canada to sign a deal with China before Carney headed over there, when he was on his way over there. And then responding after the fact with an assessment that Canada had struck a free trade deal with China, which, details-wise is not accurate, and suggesting that he may punish Canada with a 100% tariff. What sort of a, I'm going to supercharge the question, but what sort of a chilling effect does that have on business? Maybe I'm off.
No, not at all. I mean, there's a lot of rhetoric going back and forth, and I think the challenge for business is that, again, it creates that uncertainty that, we potentially have another looming tariff, or we have, I said this in an interview yesterday, but we kind of feel like we're back where we were at the beginning of last year, where we just don't know what's coming down the pipeline. There's a lot of bluster and a lot of statements being made, but we don't know what the actual impact is going to be when all is said and done and the dust settles. What is the actual tariff going to be, or is there going to be one, or was this just reactionary on the part of the president in terms of the deal that Canada made with China? And again, it's just that uncertainty in the environment, in the economic environment, that really is a challenge for our businesses in the province right now. And that's along with so many other factors that are impacting investment decisions in Alberta right now.
Yeah, we'll get to more of those, but what would be a couple off the top of your head so I make sure I don't miss one?
No, separation obviously is a huge one that we need to talk about in terms of, how that is impacting, how foreign investment is looking at Alberta, how even Albertan businesses are looking at what their decision-making process is going to be around that whole issue.
So what are your members telling you? Now we're kind of talking about two things, but it's all one thing. It reiterates the work that your team is doing. And by the way, I'll reference abchamber.ca is where you can learn more about the work, the advocacy on behalf of the Alberta Chambers of Commerce. And there's a way you can connect with them too. I'm going to talk to you, or I'll ask you, Shauna, in a second about your new hot button issue survey. I love that your team's not shying away from the big stories and the big stuff. But what do members tell you? I mean, in an era of uncertainty like this on multiple fronts, like what are you hearing from business owners and operators?
Just a level of uncertainty and frustration, and just really how do you, cut through all the noise and all the rhetoric and understand exactly how some of these decisions are going to impact the bottom line of your business in
So
the
are
next
they like revisiting
6,
contracts
10,
or
12 months? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, things like leases, I would imagine, securing capital, like investments on behalf of the corp. Like there's got to be just a long list.
Absolutely. And those big investment decisions too, in terms of growth or expansion or diversification into new markets. Any big investment decisions that, would potentially have great positive impact on the business growing and thriving. But everybody is just so cautious because of the economic environment that we're in.
Do you think that, and I'm asking you this from a business standpoint, not political, not military, do you think that it could get worse in the Canada-U.S. relationship? Do you think businesses should be bracing for it to get even more difficult?
I would hope not. Like, I really trust that hopefully at the lower levels of government that our diplomats are working together to really bridge the relationship and have those conversations that can, funnel up to the top to our leadership about the importance of the trade relationship between Canada and the U.S. And it's not just Canada. I mean, the U.S. is being heavily impacted by what's happening with tariffs. So it's really how, for us at ACC, how do we advocate to those individuals, those people that are boots on the ground, actually in the rooms having the conversations about how this relationship with our biggest trade partner needs to move forward. And obviously summertime is going to be a critical moment in that with the CUSMA review. And that's going to be, that's going to be a point where we can really see and have some certainty in terms of what that's going to look like going forward. But I would hope that cooler heads prevail, to be honest with you, Ryan, and that both countries realize the importance of the trade relationship and have, a high level of respect for the back and forth of how our products and goods and services get to both markets.
I've got a note here from somebody who wants me to ask you about reciprocal electricity trade with Montana. I know absolutely nothing about this, but I know that if I do know one thing, many folks and businesses too, individuals and businesses have seen utility costs rise dramatically, and they're shelling out more than they'd like, obviously, for things like electricity. Are you familiar with the file? Can we talk about it?
A little bit, yes. I have rudimentary knowledge, but so President Trump has highlighted several concerns in terms of reciprocal trade agreements, electricity being one. And so essentially that's in relation to the MATA line. So that's the Montana-Alberta tie line, and the ability for Montana producers to access the Alberta market. And so that has been, Senator Daines has been talking about this for several months. So that is something that, we need to take a look at in terms of our Alberta policies and how can we maybe alleviate, because at the end of the day, if we can take a look at the list of concerns, and I don't remember what all of them were, Ryan, again, because it's in Alberta, I understand a little bit about this file on the electricity one, but it is really about, how do we take away some of those pain points so that we can make that whole negotiation much more amicable and collaborative where we need it to go.
Thanks for taking the question. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So back to the separation situation. The reality is, there were a few thousand people down in Calgary that gathered down there for a rally. They're signing the petition. We've seen, lineups in Red Deer for people to sign as well. People on this program know where I stand on this issue. I don't need to bloviate in front of you. I'll save that for later. And I do think that this is a conversation that will probably ramp up in prominence as the rest of the nation watches. And Albertans most likely see a referendum on this in 2026. But in the meantime, we must acknowledge we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what the numbers look like. I know what my gut tells me. I've been right and I've been wrong before. We don't know. Yeah. What's a business to do?
Yeah, so I think for us, one of the things that we really want to do is any information that we share with businesses, anything that we share with our local chambers, we want to make sure it's really grounded in data. And so just so that you're aware, today we're launching a hot button survey that's going to deal with all of these things. We're going to talk about CUSMA. We're going to talk about the separation, how it's impacting businesses. We're going to talk about the deal with China. We're going to talk about, how how is the Canadian-U.S. trade relationship impacting your decisions. So I just wanted to let you know that that's going to be out in the market today. And we really encourage all businesses to really provide your feedback and input, because that really helps us support the positions that we take with our lawmakers and the people that are kind of having these conversations and in those rooms, like I said earlier.
Yeah, and I would imagine how many members Alberta Chambers is hundreds of businesses, right? Like you are
thousands,
thousands,
like 24,000.
What?
Yeah,
24,000.
Yeah.
Well, I always say hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and which I guess is technically true. 24,000, Shauna.
Yeah.
That's just remarkable, and it speaks to the I think probably the entrepreneurial spirit that we celebrate in Alberta. This province of I always say movers and shakers and difference makers. People that are willing to take risks and lay it on the line and make a difference in the community or the industries around them. But you're going to have different opinions. Like, people are going to be wired differently on this, which is interesting. It won't be the first time that you'll see your membership, I don't want to say split on an issue, but you'll see people seeing this differently, right? Which is, I think, going to provide a huge amount of value when you get these hot button survey results back. It'll be interesting to go through. Is that something you'd be able to share with us, like in a future appearance on the show? Would we be able to go through those?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay,
yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll punch the link into the show notes here for the podcast and on YouTube if people want to participate. And again, of course, you can check out abchamber.ca to learn more about the benefits of membership. Let me not say hundreds. Join the thousands and thousands of memberships of the Alberta Chamber. Can we ask, and can we circle back? I'm often asking you, I feels like almost every time you're here, about the interprovincial trade barrier thing, because I don't know why. It's just, Mark Carney talked about it when he was campaigning to be Liberal leader. He talked about it before he was elected. He talked about it when he was elected. He gave that kind of mile marker, said by Canada Day, and then walked it back a little bit, but basically said by Canada Day, we'll have eliminated these, or we'll have better interprovincial trade. Have there been strides made? Has there been progress? Like, what has that meant for Alberta businesses?
Yeah, so definitely. I mean, there's still a few products that are not able to cross borders, like alcohol. So there's still some challenges that we need to address. For us, so we just took our first pilot trade mission to Winnipeg in December. So we're really working with Alberta businesses to diversify their markets internally within Canada. And so we went to Manitoba, we went to New Flyer Industries and Fort Garry Fire Trucks. So heavy vehicle manufacturers.
Is New Flyer the buses?
Yes, it is. Yeah. And
it's
so
like a legendary company, isn't it?
It is. And it's just got such a fantastic history, and just the story behind it is really cool. But so we took businesses from Alberta there to just create those relationships. And it was a fantastic pilot. We created some new relationships, potentially opened up some new markets for some Alberta businesses. And we're excited that we're going to be doing these now very regularly. So we don't have all the details on the upcoming trade missions, but we'll be running, several of them, 6 in the next year, going in and out of Manitoba and Saskatchewan and Alberta, the 3 provinces, to, again, just really practically boots on the ground, find ways to create new connections for interprovincial trade within our prairie provinces.
Okay, so when the Alberta Chambers team puts this plan together, in this case to go to Manitoba, it was specifically aimed at like manufacturing focused or heavy duty vehicles. Like you kind of curate that delegation for that specific focus.
That's right.
Okay, cool. And then you would do that in theory, for
several industries,
a whole bunch of different industries, a whole bunch of different provinces. Is that something that like an Alberta Chambers member could reach out if they were interested in participating? Like if there's an ag producer or somebody working in whatever industry, banking or real estate or whatever, they could reach out and get involved personally?
Absolutely. Anybody is welcome to reach out to us at the Alberta Chamber. And as we put these together and determine, what is going to be the focus of each of the tours, which industry, we are, creating these waiting lists of individuals and businesses. And it's not just, you don't have to be a chamber member. That's the other thing. It's open to all businesses in the province of Alberta. So really, encourage anybody who's wanting to look at, or even, knows of a new market in Saskatchewan or Manitoba that they want to go explore. Please reach out to us. We're happy to have a conversation with them and include them in future trade missions so that we can actually, again, have real world grounded examples of where we're making a difference on interprovincial trade barriers. Yeah.
People may not have to be chamber members, but they should be chamber
They should,
members.
yes. So
we can
for
all
that,
agree.
Ryan, yes.
Yeah, we're proud chamber members. That was one of the
Absolutely.
first things we did when we set up our business. I think I've told you the story of my grandpa Stan working at the Calgary Chamber of Commerce for many, many years. Did you know that?
No,
Yeah,
I don't think I knew
he was
that.
the publisher of their magazine. He was their sales manager. I don't know his exact job title, but worked in sales and recruitment and marketing and like his whole. So he was a chamber evangelist. So I grew up with, a clear understanding of the value of chambers and the value of those relationships. He was a real connector.
Yeah.
And so I don't think, he didn't like spell it out at the dinner table. But it was just obvious to me that the value, this is starting to sound like a commercial, but that's fine. This is my childhood recollection, that the value of those chambers, and I understood this ever since I was a young boy, was in many cases the commiserating, the networking, the connecting, the advocacy, the strength in numbers. That sort of a thing. Mm-hmm. You have your, I've got March 11th circled on my calendar because I'm going to be returning on your political action day. Your media panel is always so much fun. I've let Real Talkers know with apologies that I can't ever tell them about it because it's Chatham House rules. There's no phones. No one's tweeting about what's said in there. It's a very candid day talking politics, but it's much more than just the media panel. And you've kind of confirmed the who's who of Alberta politics for that day.
Yeah, we have. And Rob Breckenridge will be joining you on the media panel. And yes, we have Premier Smith will be joining us to facilitate the Q&A conversation with members and individuals in the room. We'll have official opposition Naheed Nenche there at noon to bring, his comments from the NDP side. So, we have kind of the who's who politically, and then we're setting up just a fantastic lineup of speakers for the day. So, yes, please, tickets are on sale now. Really encourage anybody who has an interest in hearing about what's going on right now in Alberta in terms of the politics and the media stuff and current events. And that's always a lively panel, I must say. I sometimes wish we could do that one here.
Well, we could. And I've never really, I've kind of looked in that room in my experience. I feel like I've done it with you guys. It feels like 10 years now. I don't know, but it's one of my longer standing gigs. And it's always so much fun. But I'm not like dramatically different in that room than I am on the show.
No.
As an independent, we have certain luxuries. And then I see the Q&A is my favorite part when business owners and chamber members are getting up and bouncing questions off the media panel. Mm-hmm. And I almost guarantee you that most of them would go on the record with their comments as well. And the humor in there, we'll never forget. Remember that fella from, we won't name his business, but the guy from Slave Lake last year just calling me out and kind of going, I'm being dramatic and funny, but like a little bit toe to toe. We went verbally toe to toe on a couple of things. And at the end of it, after it, I went over and we had a laugh and we shook hands. We actually exchanged business cards and we don't text each other every week, but we established a connection there, and I loved it. Like I left with I don't know if I converted him to subscribe to Real Talk, but I thought I liked how he was holding my feet to the fire, and I think I put some stuff to think about in front of him, and that's the whole purpose of what you guys are doing with that day. So I thought it was just excellent.
Yeah, it's all about the connection, creating those connections for businesses, making sure that they have that access to our elected officials and really have the opportunity. Last year we had, over 20 ministers in the room.
That's wild, Shauna.
It is. Yeah.
Nobody else gets 20 ministers in a room. Maybe the premier at a cabinet meeting, but that's about it.
Yeah, no, we're very fortunate and we're very appreciative that they find the value in that too, in order for them to, it's a really easy way for them to get in front of their constituents and talk to the business community in the province to find out where the actual pain points are and what they need to be working on to create that environment, that climate for business decisions and investments into Alberta. So
it was the 23rd of January. If Real Talkers want to check out that episode in our podcast archive or on YouTube, 23rd of January, I talked to David Valentin from Liaison Strategies, and they have some interesting polling out on the different big files, the NDP and the UCP. They did some polling, showed that the two parties are neck and neck. So says the polling. Who knows the reality? Were an election to be held today, but then they asked these folks that were polled, these Albertans, who do you trust most on education, on healthcare, and with the economy? And it was very interesting to see where they land. And people can check out that interview if you want. See, I'm back selling my episodes. The 23rd of January. The reason I bring it up is I guarantee, you're going to have an audience. You sell out this political action day every year, the 11th of March at the Chateau Lacombe. These are business people. These are people that are closely, not just watching the economy, they're participating in the economy. And they'd be curious to know not just what Premier's take on that is going to be, but what Ed Nenshie's take on that is going to be as well, right? Yeah. The majority of Albertans may lean either way on who they trust more to manage the economy. So Nenshie's going to walk into that room with a clear understanding of who he's talking to, and it'll be very interesting to see what he puts in front of folks as well as the Premier, right?
Absolutely. And that's why, we're a nonpartisan organization. We have to make sure that all voices are heard. That's our job, is that people are informed so that they can make good decisions.
100%. And you guys do a great job with it. Again, tickets are available like right now, all the way through till when it sells out. And I don't know when that's going to be, but I will say it'll be soon, and it does every single year. So you don't want to miss out on this. That's the 2026 Political Action Day and the MLA dinner presented by the Alberta Chambers of Commerce. Again, abchamber.ca. We'll link to that in the show notes. And don't forget that hot button issue survey. I can't wait to see these results. That'll be interesting. Trade with U.S. and China, CUSMA, and Alberta separation. Shauna Feth has her eye on Alberta Business as the president and CEO of the Alberta Chambers of Commerce. Thanks for doing this. It's great to see you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Real Talkers, we want to know what you think about this. If you're a chamber member, by the way, and you're going to send us an email, let us know where in Alberta. Let us know what your industry is. Maybe let us know just a couple of quick bullet points on what's the biggest cause for concern for you. Or maybe what are you geared up and excited about right now? Where's your head at? We want to more deeply understand this province that we're proud to call home, and that includes, without a doubt, its business landscape. Conversations like this happen with the support of our friends at Kubi Renewable Energy. This is a phenomenal Alberta success story. These were two Fort McMurray oil field electricians that saw big opportunity in sustainable energy, and now 11 years ago, they left their guaranteed gigs. They had one pickup truck, and they started installing solar panels. Well, the growth over the 11 years since is truly remarkable. Now, one of Canada's largest and busiest solar installers, and they're working across industry. They're installing on barn roofs and big office towers, and of course, thousands and thousands of homes. You can check out kuby.ca. That's KUBY.ca for more on solar, simplified, people-powered. Want to give a shout-out to the first responders in our audience. When you contact Kubi, if you're a search and rescue personnel, firefighter, paramedic, police officer, military member, you name it, ask them about the Powering Those Who Protect promotion. There's a 5% discount right off the top for first responders from our friends at Solar by Kubi. Hey, have you booked your You Can Comedy Nights table yet? I want to make sure you don't miss it. The comic strip on Bourbon Street, West Edmonton Mall, has limited seating, and that's why you get to get your tickets today at youcan.ca, March 9th through the 11th, and then March 16th through the 18th. A phenomenal lineup of stand-up comedians, all in support of a great cause. That's UCAN Youth Services. You can get your tickets today at youcan.ca. We're going to be there. Real Talk is donating a couple of live auction items. You can pick up lunch with me in a studio tour. All of the proceeds will go to this nonprofit organization that's helping young people out of harm's way and onto a path of economic independence. We do this in honor of Kyle Dubé, the UCAN founder. Kyle's left this earth, but the team that remains at UCAN is doing incredible work, continuing his legacy and growing this program Again, UCAN Comedy Nights. Tickets on sale today at ucan.ca. And it was wonderful to hear from Real Talker Michael, who sat down with Carrie and Marshall at North Road Investment Council the other day. Michael sent us an email. I read it in our most recent episode about the experience. Said it was fantastic. Michael's one of those that he wants the insights from these experts at North Road Investment Council, but Michael said he doesn't want to be totally hands-off. He still wants to have a role in managing his family's retirement plan. He said that the meeting with Marshall and Carrie reiterated that some of the work he was doing was great and also exposed a couple of, blind spots or areas where maybe he needed to pay some closer attention. The team at North Road works with many discerning families and foundations and associations, many of them with millions of dollars to invest. And of course, North Road customizes plans and programs navigating the complexities of wealth accumulation. But if you're at an earlier stage of your investment journey, the team at North Road can simply act on an hourly basis to make sure that you're on the right track. This is one of the many things that sets them apart. You can connect with Marshall, Carey, and the team. Learn more about North Road Investment Council by visiting their website at northroadic.com. It's been fantastic to see the conversation continue in our live chat, powered by Park Power. The show's technical director, John Hicks, has been keeping an eye on it all. Interesting comment. Hello from Super Chat Ken here, who says business needs certainty. And Ken is 100% correct.
Sure.
Says business wants certainty, but he wonders, is the Premier listening on this? He says, we got to make sure, the Premier's making sure that separatists get this referendum by making it easier. That is not going to give businesses certainty.
It's too late now.
It is too late now.
I agree with you.
The horses are out of the barn.
Let's have it tomorrow, man. Let's get it over with, and then we can get back to business.
Yeah. So, I feel like I don't guarantee many things because I've been burned on some pretty high-profile guarantees.
Oh, I could guarantee
including the
we'll be
Edmonton
burned.
Oilers winning a Stanley Cup at least once in the last 2 years. Lost a lot of disposable income on that.
Chunk of change
still
play Alberta.
Still smarting from that one a little bit. So I've learned not to guarantee too much in the mic.
Yeah.
But I would say I feel like I am as close to a guarantee as I'm willing to get that there will be a referendum on this in 2026.
Oh, sure.
And the business angle, which Shauna so aptly digs into and describes, is one major factor. It's not the only one, though. There's a lot of people that are figuring out where they're going to spend their retirement or what their next real estate move is going to be. Are we going to level up with a family home? Or are we going to downsize? I agree. What would the real estate market look like?
I agree. And this is all just it's like being on a leash and someone's just holding it tight. You know what I mean? And so I agree with you. I agree it's going to happen. I think we've been talking about this for a while. I agree it's going to be obviously low, like a quarter of Albertans. I would love if it's lower than that. But I think if a referendum actually happens and everything, people go to the polls, that it will, every single gosh darn separatist will get up, put on their pants and walk down to a station that day. I believe that. Yeah. But we all know it's not going to pass. So let's just do it, get it over with. And then we can get back to what we were doing right before this, which is dealing with all the conspiracies and scandals and drama. No, I'm just kidding. But honestly, it's not doing anything positive right now for anyone. It's just looming over us, right?
I just find it's further divided. We've seen it before, and this is going to be a flawed. I'm not trying to.
It is dividing people,
but
even
it
out
reminds
in
me of
public
COVID.
now. It's like
it reminds me of COVID, right? And it's kind of. Do I really want to get into this? It's kind of like one of the things that I think jumps out at me is that one of the similarities is that the separation debate.
No,
there's that too. There's no vaccine for separation.
I'm kidding, real talkers,
and I'm not saying 100%, and I'm not saying the Venn diagram's a perfect circle, but it's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
The same folks that were fighting COVID restrictions, the same folks that were fighting
convoys,
masks, the same folks that were fighting vaccines, the same folks that are generally speaking, the same characters that are fighting for Alberta separation.
Sure.
And I just saw that, even yesterday, this is anecdotal. Real Talkers, we want to hear your stories. Send us your stories. I'll tell mine. This is just one of them.
Story time.
A guy, gather around. What was that? Was that Polka Dot Door where they'd say everybody's names and then everyone would
this is Romper Room.
Romper Room.
I love it.
Thank you. I saw on Facebook just yesterday a guy that I really, really, really liked in high school and have not seen since the day we graduated. But just like if I see his name, I just go, what a great guy, right? And I'm not saying you can't believe that Alberta should be a sovereign state and not be a great person. Some of my friends and family members, I think, are delusional about what Alberta would look like as its own entity. That doesn't mean I don't love them. Let me be clear about that. But when I saw this guy post that he had been at the Big Four Center in Calgary and that he had done his part and signed the petition, it was like my heart just sank.
Sure.
And then I don't know why I checked the comments on his post, but another guy that I absolutely love, like a guy that if he walked in this room, I would get up from this table and I would bear hug him with both hands, and I still would, obviously. But he was like, I did my part too. And he's like, attaboy. And I was like,
yeah, it hurts.
Really? It's like, guy,
It hurts.
what? It's
Yeah.
like, really?
And
it's going to, because you're talking about something, you're talking about your beloved, I mean, this is my perspective anyway, your beloved province's place in your beloved nation. This is something, Canadian is part of our identity. Albertan is part of our identity. And for a lot of people, this is like, including me, the stakes are high and the meaning is very significant.
I mean, and that's the thing that bothers me, because I don't want to doom anything, but I know this isn't like Quebec. I know it's going to be a quarter of the people, and then what's going to happen after that? Probably further division, but at least we can move on. But I agree with you. I know people who are like kind of like tooting the separatist horn, and they're not necessarily bad people, but like the Venn diagram, the overlap happens with separation and anti-vax and convoy, and I'm not painting them all the same way. But, it really disheartens me. Yesterday, I'm sure you saw Janice Irwin sign that declaration.
I didn't know.
Well, she kind of signed this thing that, I'm not going to say it's meaningless, but it basically says, I'm a proud Albertan, I'm a proud Canadian.
Yeah.
And I think the last line was, I am against separation. And she kind of went on social media and called all MLAs and people in government to sign it, including Danielle Smith, even though we know for the most part, every time she's been asked a question, our premier said the same thing. She believes in a unified Canada.
Yeah, she said it on this show.
A proud, strong Alberta within that. But, under this post where Janice signed these things are the disheartening comments. And I saw one from one of my friends who basically said, and I don't want to call him out, but a guy I know well, I went to his wedding.
Yeah.
And the comment there is like, we don't want people like you in Alberta. You can leave with the rest of Canada.
Yeah, like what are these
And
fucking
that's
comments?
the kind of shit we're talking about, Ryan.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to swear, but that's the stuff that gets us upset.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, it's needless, right? And you know that there's a tone of homophobia in there. And you know that there's a tone of, you people get out of our country or province that will become a country. And that's the kind of stuff I want to get past. And I know it'll never go away. There'll always be people from each province and from different states in the states who still want to, people down south who still believe in whatever. But like, we need to get past this so we can just kind of put it in the rear view, because it's causing all this division that is just, it's unnecessary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. It's the same. I'm seeing these. This is, by the way, this is the couch where John and I just have therapy. We
but that's a guy I care about in the comments.
I know,
who
man.
said that, right?
And I'm
like,
seeing
I went to
similar
his wedding.
comments where people are making comments about like, we need ice in Canada, we need ice in Alberta, and you're like, what are you? I to a certain degree, I think I'm getting to a point, and I'm very clear, Real Talkers, that, we want to make sure that this is a show where people with different political beliefs feel comfortable to express them. We explore different perspectives. There's healthy and respectful and credible debate. Like, we promise you, we will have that. Blaise Bowman was on yesterday, Kenny's former director of comms. Like, I shared with you guys, like, that's one of the guys that got me fired from my radio job, right? Like, I love that he's on.
You've forgiven him, though.
Well, yeah. And I don't know that I
For the most part.
Yeah, but there was never any really like hard feelings around that, because
when we get fired, we all have.
There's harder feelings towards someone else. And it's not Jason Kenney. But anyway, the point is, Blaze and I now have a hilarious friendship. And, and I really appreciate beers with him, and I love when he's on the show. Like, we're going to have Blaze on, who has a certain conservative beliefs, and then we're going to have some, left-winger on that's going to trigger some of our conservative audience members, and that's fine. And it's really important to me that this show is that. It's a sounding board, and it's like a landing page. It's a community service in a way, where we can all gather in community and talk these things out. But I am also hitting a point where, like, if certain people believe certain things at this point, I don't want to hear it anymore. I mean, I don't want to hear from people that are talking about how, Renee Nicole Good was like a domestic terrorist that aimed her vehicle at an ICE agent in Minneapolis. That's bullshit. It's not true. Anybody with half a brain knows that, right? We know as well that Preddy, like, he was not, like, he was concealed carry legally at this demonstration. His last words, this nurse, was he an ICU nurse, I think, at the VA, like helping veterans, American servicemen and women, like the person, one of the people, one of the types of people that you most need in a society. His last words as a living being were, "Are you okay?" Looking to assist a woman that had been knocked to the ground by law enforcement. And then my mentions are being polluted by people that are talking about how, relating him. Someone yesterday on my Twitter related him to Osama bin Laden. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, I just think we're getting to the point. The Happy Days references, they've jumped the shark, and it's to the point now where I'm not going to hearing both sides of an important issue does not include stumping for ICE and what they're doing to American citizens.
It depends. Let's not be, made of glass here either. Like, trolling and busting balls is fun too. Like, I
don't know when you're talking about people that have been murdered, though.
No, I don't mean that. But from either side of the aisle, I would rather people laugh together and sling an arrow one way, hold up your shield, have it bounce off you, sling it back the other way. But it's really getting to the point where, like, especially, I'll go back to the separation thing because I want to stay away from the ICE thing. We'll like go down a whole different fork in the road.
Yeah, I did kind of open another
But like the
can.
people I see who are like, oh, the taxes will be lowered. Man, if you form your own country, taxes are not going to be lower. Or like, I'm like, well, what about the treaties? And they're like, Alberta will pull out of the treaties. Well, first of all, Alberta's not even in any treaty. Treaties are between Indigenous people and the federal government. Like, it's like, you have to first, and I'm not saying I'm an expert on I'm not a lawyer. I don't know about the ins and outs of what separation would even entail in Canada. We've never seen it happen. But to say something and have it like obviously not be true, I think you're starting at a point where you have no idea what you're talking about. And I don't want to say that to someone because then they feel insulted, right? But like, these are the kind of conversations I'm having where I'm like, I don't think you even begin to understand it, nor do I, like, how destructive this could be, right? And so when you're starting from that point, I just feel like we're in a bad place. And then, slings and arrows get thrown, and then people get upset, and then people start insulting, and not just trolling and having fun and poking fun with each other. People say, really, I'm telling you, under that Janice post yesterday, I saw people I knew, not just that one I mentioned, who I won't mention his name, but people I knew saying things that were like dog whistles and borderline disrespectful, and lots under there of people I didn't know who were straight up saying horrible things. And I'm like, this isn't Alberta. Like, this isn't the place I love. This isn't the place I moved to, left, came back because I love it. I love it here because you get a piece of everybody, and it's slowly growing. It's getting more culturally diverse, and that's a good thing. And for us to just like you said, for all, I don't want to say a certain type of people, but for those people in that Venn diagram to just pack up their bags and say, this is what we want. We want to leave. We want to shut down the borders. Rath saying that stuff yesterday about we're going to block all the transport from BC. I'm like,
shut down the rail lines and tariff
trade war. It's just that stuff. That's not what this country is about. That's not what this province is about. It never has been. And I understand people are upset about certain things, but we can solve them ourselves while holding Canada's hand. You know what I mean?
Nia in our live chat says, exactly, Johnny. Thank you for acknowledging the bigotry. Tony says Janice Irving gets the most vile comments on any of her social media posts. I'm surprised she's still in public service. Tony says, I always defend her. We got some trolling going on in our live chat. I'm just trying to decide. I mean, I'm so tempted.
We were having
have you ever like been?
We were having a WF drinking game
bass
while you were reading the ads.
Yeah, when it comes to like certain personalities of fish or tendencies of fish, like if you've ever watched, do you ever go online? I'm a nerd this way. Like I love fishing, guys. I love angling, and I'm more of a trout guy, and then like the deep sea stuff. But I know bass fishermen in particular, they'll just spend like hours watching these fish finders, these like underwater cameras that are on, and you have the camera on your boat and you can just sit and watch. And one of my favorite things to do is to watch these big old bass. Just like they're like swimming by, and they're checking it, they're checking the hook, they're kind of like looking, they're swimming by. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm just in the live chat, I'm just looking at the hook, I'm looking at the bait, and I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm going to take it. And I don't know if I'm going to take it, but I do appreciate the comments. Coronetti Motorsports, shout out to them. Says when all this is over, the separatists are going to have egg all over their faces, but unfortunately, they will Karen convoy with sour grapes and probably cause even more grievances. Just my guess.
Nah, I don't think so.
You think that they're going to take a big loss and then just quietly fade away into the background?
Of course not, but it'll take a lot of wind out of that sail that's right now where people are like, things are at 40 or 50%. You know what I mean? Like, I'm with you.
I'm going to tell you what's going to happen.
Let's see those numbers.
They're going to blame. They're going to find a way to blame the feds. They're going to find a way to blame immigrants.
Blame the vote.
They're going to find
internal.
They're going to question the validity
100%.
of the referendum. They're going to question the whole thing. And at the end of the day, as is often the case with some, if not many of these folks, they're going to exhibit a real inability to take responsibility for something that ultimately lands right there in their lap. Vamp Fashion says Premier Smith has said every time she's been asked that she wants Alberta to stay in Canada. Only if the majority wants to pursue independence will she work with it. That is true. She said as much on this show. December 9th was her last appearance. If you want to check it out on our podcast or on YouTube. Her detractors are saying, or her critics are saying, well, yeah, but then she made it easier for the separatists. So, she didn't make it more difficult. She made it easier. So you can say one thing and do another, and we'll judge her on her actions. I asked her to her face. I was sitting 2.5 feet from her when I asked her. She was very clear. She said, I've been very clear about my position. What's very strange, again, and we got into this yesterday, we don't have to do it again. Check out our episode coming up on the 2nd of February. That's going to be this coming Monday. As thousands of conservatives, federal conservative members, will gather in Calgary, my beloved hometown, for Conservative Convention. Philippe Fournier is going to be there with 338 Canada.
Nice.
Yeah. So Philippe's going to join Supriya Dwivedi and myself on the February 2nd episode. That'll be the Monday with this sort of like, word on the ground report. And we can get his take on that as well and where he lands on it. I'll be curious to see the sort of the themes that surface at Conservative Convention. Again, that's the Federal Conservative Convention in Calgary this weekend. You can tag us in your tweets on X if you're going to be down there, friends, and always send us an email in confidence or otherwise to talk@ryanjesperson.com. Ken says there's way too many people that think separation doesn't have serious implications for business or travel. Ken throws a bullseye on this. He says everybody wants chaos these days to fire the endorphins, right? Like, pardon the sports metaphor for a second.
It's true.
But everybody wanted the Oilers to trade Stuart Skinner. And
now look at your boy.
And now look at your boy.
I told you
like
this.
He might win the Vezina for what he's doing in Pittsburgh. Everybody wants chaos.
100%. And we're not going to go off on sports, but I agreed with the trade at the time because I thought it was time. But what did I say back, 2 months into the season?
I know you were nervous.
I told you, I was like, this guy got us to the playoffs 2 years in a row, and you're going to run him out of town. And it happens a lot in Edmonton. And now look Oilers are doing fine. Let's not be, but, Skinner's doing really well. But, grass is always greener, Ryan.
Yeah.
But,
hey, I want to give a shout out to Fern for having a Real Talk YouTube channel membership. Thanks so much, Fern. Says it's true, you guys. Businesses do not want to add more to Alberta's political climate of chaos. Shauna Feth made some very good points. Like for business owners here, for a lot of business owners, there would be hypothetically major complications to doing business.
Yeah.
Were this all to happen in Alberta,
you can
were to
say
leave.
like, I'll leave as a citizen, but if you have a business that's been rooted here for 20, 30, 40 years,
right? But
you
like,
have no choice.
Let's say you have a business that offers a service. Maybe you're in the energy industry as an example, and you offer a service that is also offered by a business in Texas, and it's offered by a business in Venezuela. Maybe a bad example right now. Maybe there are businesses in certain nations in Africa that offer the same. Maybe there's businesses in Europe that offer the same services or comparable services. And there's capital, like whether it's pension funds or whatever it is, that's looking to deploy hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in capital. And they have options. Right, they have option. They have the world is their option on where they're going to deploy that capital and where they're going to invest. Are they going to invest right now in a region, in a jurisdiction where there's even a remote possibility that citizens may vote to blow everything up and create chaos, separating from a federal government, having no uncertainty around what any of it would look like? What investor in its right mind would choose that as the landscape to do business? The answer is none.
It's like a catch-22, you know? You have, I don't want to call them seppies. I just saw someone in the chat say that. Is that a thing? Calling separatists seppies? I don't know. It sounds derogatory, so I won't. But like, you have separatists saying, hey, we need a pipeline. We need investment capital to build a pipeline. People are scared to invest in Alberta. We want to separate. But like the separation is driving the investment fear. So it's like a constant circle. You know what I mean? It's like a bunch of people, with pitchforks and torches outside a castle being like, the people inside won't come out. Obviously, they're scared to death. Like investment hates turmoil of any kind.
100%. Nia says I have lots of friends posting about signing that separation petition. They're doing it for a sense of community, not based on any facts at all. The facts don't matter. They're having fun.
And that's
she says
fine.
She
community
says it's scary.
is fine. But
community's great.
Yeah. I don't mind that these people get together and they voice their opinions and they have town halls. Let's do that.
It's a free world.
Let's continue to do that.
It's a free country anyway.
The problem is this is a wall. This is blocking us from progressing, moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Ambustion says, I can't say that I feel particularly trusting that if they're moving forward with a vote like this with such bad polling, that there won't be shenanigans. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Tracy D says, guys, we're all living in Donald Trump's world now. Everybody says whatever they want with basically no consequences. Eric says, Jeff Rath, the separatist, also has suggested that Canada is an existential threat to Alberta. Says he is a lawyer. He chooses his words deliberately. That from Eric. I would point out that Jeff Rath is a lawyer for now. Well, I mean, Google his name. Google Jeff Rath sanctions, Jeff Rath hearing, Jeff Rath. Like, just look it up. I mean, that's a fact. That's a fact, right? That's not slander. That's a fact. You can Google it yourself. Not George Soros. There's a drink for everybody. Not George Soros in our chat says if Albertans so desperately want to be American, they can move. Like, it's an option, right? And Bustion says, I didn't grow up in an Alberta that was like this. I saw your comment earlier. It disappeared. Where did it go? You were talking about bush parties. Said everyone would gather for bush parties and crush a beer and like talk things out and share their different opinions. Says it's just like not the same thing anymore. It just doesn't feel that way anymore.
Well, a lot of fist fights at the bush parties.
Yeah, there were.
Let's it wasn't all kumbaya.
I remember a guy getting hit by a car. I mean, the car was going 5 kilometers an hour, but he wouldn't get out of the way because he wanted to fight a guy. And the guy, my buddy Tyler, was behind the wheel. I mean, he shouldn't have done this, but he had like one of those big bush bars on, like the big bush grills on on the big front of this. It was a black 79 Chevy, just beautiful, lifted glass packs. You guys know what I'm talking about, like typical Alberta pickup. Big bush guard on the front. This guy was standing in front. You want to go? And Tyler just gave him a little.
He ran him over?
He didn't run him over.
Oh.
No, he was only the bumper.
I thought Ryan was going to be like, I was privy to a murder.
No, it was not a good idea. And like I said, I do not recommend anybody did this. But the guy was down, and The bumper was right up to about his belly button.
Jeez.
And it just, that was, let's not romanticize the Bush parties too much.
Yeah.
But I get what Ambustion's talking about, right?
I saw a guy fist
saying.
fight, and the loser like fell into the creek. This is in Ontario, Bowmanville, Ontario, now Clarington, very small town. And like he was, I mean, he was clearly knocked out at the time, but like, you know, his head was underwater, and people were like, oh my God, we're about to watch like someone be deceased. So yeah, it wasn't all like, hey, you know, Coors Light and Molson Canadian and flags, and there was obviously negative sides to it as well.
It kind of reminds me of Nick Tarnowski, the former NHLer, tossing the guy in the creek at Alberta Springs Golf Course last year. The greatest video of the year, the Tarnowski fight at Alberta Springs. Jay Draw in our live chat says, what irritates me most about the separatists is how smug they are when they're saying First Nations would be better off in an independent Alberta. Jay Draw says, First Nations will be treated better by the people who deny that their suffering exists. I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
A lot of you were talking about Alex Preddy and obviously what's happened in Minneapolis. You can send us your thoughts. Maybe it'll be a flamethrower to talk at ryanjesperson.com.
We can, and this isn't, insulting, but we can throw residential school deniers in with, a lot of the.
Well, I mean, there's just like, you can't like always say that everybody from this is this.
But why? But when I meet them, do they always?
But if you look at common themes, right?
I mean, I know that's. What's the word for that?
Like, who was it? It was Bill Maher the other day, and I know that some people are not going to like hearing this. It's kind of funny unless you feel targeted by it. But Bill Maher said on his show the other day, not all Republicans are racists, but all racists are Republicans. And his panel like burst out laughing. Everybody started laughing. And I know there's a lot of people here, a lot of conservative voters, a lot of you that would vote Republicans, maybe members. And we welcome you and we appreciate you of our American listening audience. Maybe you are a Republican. You don't love what he's saying, but you know what he means by it, right? Yeah. You know what he means. We all know what he means. And so not every Alberta separatist, not every Alberta sovereigntist, is a residential school denier.
No, and I know it's anecdotal, but like it seems those same type of people.
There are some common things. Like if you ask
the overlap.
I mean, all I know is that when I'm posting, put it this way, we talked to Dr. Andrew Boozery on the show yesterday. What a remarkable guy he is. A physician, maybe the next Ontario Liberal leader, a physician in Ontario that dreamed up this idea around Dunn House. It's like a supportive housing. It's called social medicine supportive housing. And it's creating such incredible return on that investment. If you missed the interview, here's two things you need to know. 48 people lived in the first edition, the first build of this Dunn House, right? So when unhoused folks are discharged from ER, they can qualify for this Dunn House, which is like permanent housing. There's supports there, and he explains it. You got to watch the interview. But there were 48 people living in Dunn House, and after its first year, they took a look at those 48 people. There had been 2,000 ER visits in the year. From those 48 people, okay? A year into Dunn House, those ER visits were down by 52%, and the time spent in hospital was down 79%. 79%. They cut ER visits in half. That's incredible. So the feds in the province of Ontario and Toronto are all kicking in more money, and they're doubling the program. And Dr. Boozery talked to us about that. The point I'm making is when I post about housing is healthcare, and I start talking, or we're sharing our stories. You can follow us on social media at Real Talk RJ. Thanks to everybody that does. And we start posting about housing is healthcare, and this Toronto doctor says this. We start getting a bunch of comments on like Alberta separation, and one person left the comment, Johnny, and said, I did a quick search, and guess what guess where he landed on wearing masks in the pandemic? And I'm like, well, yeah, he's a doctor. Like, he's a physician. He's a scientist. He understands evidence. Like, obviously, what do masks and COVID have to do with ER wait times and homeless people? Nothing. What does Alberta separation have to do with social medicine supportive housing in Ontario? Nothing. But this is a big part of people's identity, and it's relevant to everything. And there's kind of this understanding, this assumption that were Alberta to separate and cut ties with the rest of the country, that somehow this panacea would emerge and all of the problems would be solved. You wouldn't pay income tax. You wouldn't pay GST. The United States would treat our dollars on par.
This place is
and give us all
amazing.
kinds of tax breaks.
It's like Disneyland, only no fees. The world is just...
World is Disneyland. There's no lines. There's no fees.
It's incredible. It's a utopia. Come one, come all.
Yeah.
We're drinking gasoline. We're
just Joe.
We're
I mean, don't give
IVing
anybody any
ivermectin.
ideas.
We're doing everything over here in Utopia, Alberta.
Scarlett says they also always reference Saudi Arabia with no income tax. Yeah, guess why they can do that? The state owns all the oil production, you idiots. That from Scarlett. Just Joe says conversations don't happen these days. It's gotten extreme on both sides, and it never used to be this way. Just Joe, to a certain degree, I agree with you. I do agree.
Our window is also opened. Remember that. Like in the 80s, 90s, even early 2000s, we didn't see all these people online every day, right? So I think... Yes, I agree. Division has bumped up, but I also think we're seeing a lot more negative things that were kind of, the shade was down in our window before. Now it's wide open.
Tommy Temper says Alberta's been taken advantage of literally forever. Keep in mind, Tommy, Alberta was a have-not province up until Leduc number 1. Like Alberta was a recipient of equalization before Leduc number 1, but there are legitimate points that you can make. There are legitimate gripes in Alberta around federal energy policy over the last 10 years. That doesn't mean we leave, but I'll take the point. Nia says, I watched some separatist content. It was like hateful and vile, and the audiences are being groomed, and it feels almost like they're victims of psychological abuse. Says it's totally crazy. Denise says all oil and gas headquarters will move to Texas, and the national parks are all going to stay with Canada, so we can start the conversation there. Fern says Janice Irwin's a real one. I mean, there's a lot going on in our live chat right now. I didn't realize as well. I appreciate the live chat pointing this out to me. Somebody reached out to me yesterday. I ran into somebody on 104th Street walking outside, stopped me and said, hey, how much of what you learn or how much of what you hear about the news is from the live chat? And I said, there are instances, there are times where there's breaking news in the live chat and I learn it from you guys. This isn't breaking news, but I didn't realize today is the 40th anniversary of the Challenger explosion.
Yeah.
Are you old enough to remember? You would have been like very, very young. You would have been like a toddler. You would have been in diapers.
I was, but I just remember growing up, this was like one of the
Yes.
images we continued to see, right? And continue your point, because I remember there's...
Well, I'm just reading through here, and there's just a ton of different comments. People are having a bunch of different conversations. That'll continue, by the way, in our Real Talk community chat on Discord, where it goes 24 hours a day. Real Talkers gather in community and chat. That's a unique benefit for our YouTube channel subscribers and for our Patreon supporters. You can learn more at ryanjesperson.com or just sign up as a YouTube channel member on YouTube, and you'll qualify to get into that Discord. Great conversations there. But just reiterating the point, the Challenger explosion, I wasn't aware it was the 40th anniversary today. I will never forget that. Like that was back in the day of like they were like wheeling in the TVs on the racks. Remember, like the TV, and then if like the really fancy schools, the really fancy classrooms maybe had a VCR as well with the TV, and just seeing it happen, seeing it go down, and processing that as an 8-year-old kid. And I remember we had family over. This would have been shortly after, like a couple of days after, for like a Sunday brunch or something, or Sunday dinner after church or whatever it was. And I remember being downstairs and, like scissors and glue, going through, newspapers that had been delivered to the house and doing kind of like almost like a scrapbooking exercise on poster board. I've always wondered why I did that as a kid. It wasn't for a school project. I think it was like my way looking back, and I have thought of this, through the years, not every day, but I've wondered why I did that. I remember doing it. Like I remember using glue stick on the newspaper cutouts and making like a poster board of it. And it was like, it impacted me greatly as an 8-year-old. I can't imagine, like family members that lost their loved ones. There was a teacher on board that shuttle. There was like all these kind of like firsts. There were a lot of firsts for NASA on that mission, on that shuttle. And it was one of those moments. I'm making a conscious decision not to show it now. I know everyone's seen it. You see things happen. I mean, we talk about the ICE, the shooting deaths, the murders in Minnesota. It's the same sort of a thing. I always have mixed feelings when we're sharing video on show. You're seeing someone, as they say, being unalived. You're seeing someone dying, like right there. You see these car accidents on video. But yeah, just it was a formative moment. I mean, that was a huge moment, obviously around the world. And wow, 40 years. It's blowing my mind. Just had our 30th high school anniversary, our high school reunion, 30th year, just this past weekend. I missed it, unfortunately. I was hosting Chamber Ball, but it's crazy how time flies, man. I know that we'll have people in our chat saying you've had your 50th high school reunion, stuff like that. Take every moment, friends. Make the most of it. Let this be your reality check for the day. This is like an impromptu positive reflection for you as we wrap things up. As we do wrap, I wanted to put something on your radar. You know that the Real Talk Pond Hockey Classic goes this Saturday at Larry Alexiuk Field in St. Albert. A huge shout out to the city of St. Albert for getting the field ready for us. It's flooded. Early reports are, John, that it may be the best ice we have ever seen in the 15 years of the Real Talk Pond Hockey Classic. You'll remember we've been title sponsors for the last 5, but this tradition has been going for 15 years in support of uncles and aunts at large and KidSport. And a big part of what we do is the fundraising. Of course, there's a lot of fun. You're going to have a blast out there. We encourage people to come by and watch, bring your kids, come for a visit, have a burger from our friends at DQ, grab a beer from our friends at Molson. There's going to be bonfires out there. 3 degrees, they're saying, is the forecast. 3 degrees, if you can believe it. It's going to be
this Saturday?
Beautiful.
Wow.
It's going to be perfect. Johnny's going to be out there spinning tunes. You look nervous. Are you concerned the ice is going to melt? They tell us we get,
you know what?
They say get concerned around 8 degrees. Don't be 3 is going to be perfect.
I'm not concerned because here's the thing about the weather at our events. It was really cold last year, almost like
it was minus 30.
It was uncomfortably cold. But we've remember the golf classic where it rained?
Yeah.
The party came under the booth. Everyone stayed. So if the ice isn't pristine, if it isn't satisfactory, it just means there'll be more time for chit-chat and hanging around the bonfire, eating Dairy Queen burgers, having some beers with your friends and people you may not know, people you've seen in the chat or online and now you're connecting with, and we'll all be in the tent, silent auction, we'll be hanging out. Great. That part will be even better. Yeah. And let's be honest.
The ice is going to be great. I have no doubt about the ice.
Some of you guys out there can't skate anyway, so this will kind of hide the fact.
And then there's ringers. Like, I heard that Rhett Rachinsky's coming back. I'm like, damn it. You know, former Edmonton Oil King. This guy just has wheels and hands. The guy is an unbelievable hockey player.
Our buddy Walker, who just a little too aggressive.
I tried to play against Rhett last year, and he's just like trying to be gentle with me. He's just like, what are you doing? He's like a pro hockey player. What are you doing? All kinds of skill levels and a ton of fun. The reason why we're going on about it right now is I'm showing you my screen, and I'm going to link to this in the show notes, podcast, YouTube. I'll post it on my social media as well. But our friends at Play Alberta have been incredible in providing us with 6 club seats to the Oilers Minnesota Wild game that night. This is this Saturday night, January 31st. There's 4 club seats together, and then there's 2 seats together, just a few rows up. So 6 total seats, and that's going to include the option of joining us on the Golden Bus from Central Social Hall, St. Albert. It'll be a 6 p.m. departure on Saturday, and we're going to get you downtown to Rogers Place with your 6 club tickets. We have this up at 32auctions.com. You can search for the Real Talk Pond Hockey Classic 2026. We will link to this in the show notes for the silent auction. I'm showing you this like this is just launched, so there's not even a bid yet because this is, as we speak, the official announcement. This is up for grabs. So we're going to start the bidding at $1,000. As far as I'm concerned, that's way too low. The value exceeds that. 6 club seats on a Saturday night plus Golden Bus transport. We're going to be on the bus too, and you won't be thirsty. Trust me. Thanks in advance for your consideration on that silent auction. Thanks for being a friend of the show. We're back at it again in 22 hours, friends, and we'll see you then. Be well. One love.
Real Talk is hosted by Ryan Jesperson, executive producer Josh Dunford, technical producer John Hicks, general manager Katie Cook-Chivers, account coordinator Lawrence Derlego, human resources Lena Shepard, website design Mike Johnston, voiceover by me, Carrie Skelton, member emerita Julie Rohr. Real Talk is recorded in Edmonton, Alberta on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux, home to the Métis settlements and the Métis Nation of Alberta.
Real Talk is a relay project. For more, check out ryanjasperson.com.